How identity shapes your future. Every outcome in your life can be traced back to one thing: not your circumstances, not your past, not your luck. Your identity, the way you see yourself, determines the way you live. And until that changes, nothing else truly will. Why most people never really change? Most people try to change their lives by changing what they do. They chase habits, they chase motivation, they chase goals, but they never change who they believe they are. And that's why they always fall back. Because behavior follows identity. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you'll quit. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you'll struggle. And if you see yourself as someone who grows, your actions will align with that belief. The invisible cage of identity. Your identity is the invisible cage you live inside. It's built from past failures, labels you accepted, stories you repeat, comfort zones you never challenged. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your self-image. That's why change feels so hard. Because you're not just changing habits. You're threatening the version of yourself that feels familiar. And the brain protects familiarity, even when it's painful. Why goals fail but identity lasts. Goals are temporary. Identity is permanent. You can hit a goal and still feel empty. You can lose motivation and abandon progress. But when identity shifts, effort becomes automatic. A disciplined person doesn't force discipline, they are disciplined. A consistent person doesn't debate consistency, they act from who they are. The question is no longer, what should I do? It becomes, what does someone like me do? That question changes everything. How identity is actually built. Identity is not created by words, it's created by evidence. Every small action is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you show up when it's uncomfortable, finish what you start, do the hard thing quietly, you cast a vote for a stronger identity. And every time you avoid, delay, or quit, you reinforce the old one. Identity doesn't change overnight, it changes through repetition. Why you must let the old you die. Here's the truth most people avoid. You cannot become a new version of yourself while protecting the old one. Growth requires separation from old habits, from old excuses, from old comfort. That version of you got you this far, but it cannot take you further. And yes, growth will feel lonely. Because the moment you change your identity, your environment no longer matches you. That's not isolation, that's alignment. The moment identity locks in, there's a moment when things shift. You stop forcing discipline, it becomes normal. You stop chasing consistency, it becomes expected. You stop needing motivation because momentum exists. That's when identity locks in. You no longer ask, should I do this? You say, this is who I am now. That's when change becomes permanent, practical. How to change your identity. Here's how identity actually changes. Decide who you are becoming, not what you want who you are. Act small but consistently. Identity responds to repetition, not intensity. Track evidence. Proof builds belief. Change your language. Stop saying, I'm trying. Start saying, I don't do that anymore. Protect your environment. Your surroundings must match your future, not your past. Do this long enough, and identity shifts without effort. Why identity creates peace. When your identity aligns with your actions, inner conflict disappears. No guilt, no self-betrayal, no constant restarting. Peace comes from integrity, from knowing I live in alignment with who I say I am. That peace is rare and powerful. The future you. Imagine meeting the version of you who stayed consistent, who didn't quit, who didn't negotiate with comfort. That version isn't special. They're disciplined, they're focused, they're patient, and they're built from choices you make today. Identity is not discovered, it's constructed. The final shift. The world doesn't change when you want it to. It changes when you become someone different. And that happens quietly. One action at a time. One decision at a time. One identity shift at a time. You don't need permission. You don't need motivation. You need alignment. You are not stuck. You are simply living in an identity that no longer fits. Change who you believe you are, and your life will follow. This is ShiftMind. Shift your mindset. Shape your future.